Hello, BookTube. A bit earlier, I wrapped up a smallish mail haul by saying that I was fairly certain that I would get a larger mail haul later in the day. I then ended the video and thought nothing more of it. And then all of a sudden, the mental image of Elisa from Paper Bits sort of casually sharpening two steak knives together and saying, "But you are going to film that, right?" All of a sudden, that vision was in my mind, and I couldn't get rid of it. So, of course, when the doorbell rang, I set up the camera. And this is a fairly good haul, which is good because, you know, BookTube, I don't make many demands. I'm not a fussy person. All I really ask for from life is the ability to live on my couch and about 10 free books a day. Is that a lot to ask? I don't think so. So I thought we'd go through this next one, because you don't seem to tire of mail hauls. This first one is heavy. It feels like a finished copy of something. Oh, it is. Oh, very good. This is Jeffrey Stone's Sex and the Constitution. Sex, Religion, and Law from America's Origins to the 21st Century. Great. Great, fantastic. But this comes out in March. But this Megillah comes out in March. Yes, it does, March 21st. So you see what I mean about that a little earlier, that Friday reads that I did. Things change. I have all the best. I go into every weekend with all the best of intentions and a fairly well-laid plan, but something like this could easily blow it out of the water. I might want to read this right away, especially since it's long and ambitious and I don't have a lot of time. Where are we going to put these things? Here, we'll put this over here. Something's in the way. Here's the baby. She doesn't know that you're on the other side of this camera, or she would be trying to ooze into the lap of every single last one of you. But here, let's lower this a bit so that we can get a better view of her when we're done. There we go. My high-tech tripod works just fine. All right, so this one's another finished copy. It's not something I requested. Oh, and it's controversial too. All right, so this also comes out in late March, and it's by Carol Sanger, and it's called About Abortion, with the subtitle "Terminating Pregnancy in 21st Century America." There you go. Let's see here. One of the most private decisions a woman can make, abortion is also one of the most contentious topics in American civic life. Protested at rallies and politicized in party platforms, terminating pregnancy is often characterized as a selfish decision by women who put their own interests above those of the fetus. This background of stigma and hostility has stifled women's willingness to talk about abortion, which in turn distorts public and political discussion. To pry open the silence surrounding this public issue, Carol Sanger distinguishes between abortion privacy, a form of non-disclosure based on a woman's desire to control personal information, and abortion secrecy, a woman's defense against the many harms of disclosure. Okay, and she's a law professor at Columbia. It is the stereotypical American hot button subject, and in the 21st century, when safe spaces and privilege are on everybody's lips, it's virtually impossible for a man to have an opinion that he voices publicly on the subject. Like my gender automatically disqualifies me from having thought about the subject or researched it. Can't pitch a review, can't offer an opinion at a party, can't do anything like that, which is very frustrating and counter to the libertarian attitudes of a lot of the people who are in favor of. I have a very strong opinion on abortion, and it doesn't make me an unthinking, ham-handed, slab-faced member of the patriarchy to have an opinion on abortion, much less to be against it. If a living organism is inside you that has a heartbeat that's different from yours, it's no longer a medical problem. It's no longer a medical condition of yours, and you no longer have say over it any more than you would have uninterrupted and unimpeded sway over, for instance, a severely mentally retarded 4-year-old who lived in your house and was a dependent on you tax-wise and needed your help and round-the-care supervision. You could undertake that task for that person, and it's absolutely true that that person cannot live without you. But you don't have the right to kill that person. because it's a separate person from you. So I'm perfectly okay with abortion as a medical procedure, but once there's a separate heartbeat, once there's a brain, once there are eye sockets, God forbid, once there are hands that can raise and fall, once the fetus can laugh, then you don't have any more say over it than you do over anyone walking down the street. God forbid I make that opinion anywhere other than this channel. I certainly can't make it in print. I couldn't possibly make it at a lectern anywhere. And even though I think I can defend it, the attitude seems to be that if I'm a man, especially an old fat white man, then I can't even think about the subject, which drives me nuts. And if I said that to a woman, the kind of woman that makes that argument, I don't think there are any of you that would make that argument, the kind of woman who would say, I don't want to hear from you on the subject at all because of your gender, is the exact kind of woman who would become hysterically furious if I were to say, for instance, about something that's solely the province of men, brainless warfare, a brainless border conflict piece of warfare, like in the South China Sea. If I were to say to a politically astute and intelligent woman who had studied the subject, if I were to say, I don't care how much you've studied it or thought about it, I don't want to hear your opinion because you're a woman and women don't do this, she'd be furious. I don't believe there should be any off-limit subjects. But anyway, oh God. Here, let's move to the less anything would be less contentious. Let's move to that. I don't know what I'm going to do with the book, though. I mean, this is a Columbia law professor who wrote a book. It sounds very intelligent, very, very thoughtful. I can't pitch a review of it. I certainly can't. I'm not going to run the risk of running a review on Open Letters and drawing the ire of a whole host of people to a journal that I love. Instead, I have to read it in private. Or to the limited extent that this is private. But anyway, now they've got the hot button issue out of the way, we'll move on to, all right, this is early April, and it's a YA novel, it looks like. It's by Fiona Mazel. It's a little more human. Phil Snyder is a new father and a nursing assistant at a cutting-edge biotech facility on Staten Island. His life is falling apart thanks to his wife's betrayal, his father's early-onset dementia, and his job, where experimental surgeries have disturbing side effects. To distract himself from his problems, he dons a costume on the weekend, posing as the superhero Brainstorm at a toy store. Phil also has a secret. He can read minds. But when he wakes up from a night of blackout drunkenness and is confronted with photos that seem to show him assaulting an unknown woman, even his extraordinary gifts won't help him. Try as he might, Phil can't remember what happened, so he mind reads his way through the lab techs at work, his adoring fans at Toy Polloi, and anyone else who gets in his way, in an attempt to determine whether he's capable of such violence. That doesn't... I guess I automatically thought that it was YA, but it doesn't sound like YA. Okay, well, a little more... Sorry, she certainly... The author is Fiona Mazel. Certainly has been blurbed up the wazoo. Everybody loves her work, including John Ray, who I love. All right, well... Okay, so April 4th. And also, this is a finished trade paperback. It's not coming out as a hugely expensive hardcover. That's good. Let's see here. What is this next one? Okay. All right. I did not request this. This is Glam Shack by Paul Cohen. Reluctant fashion journalist Henry Folsom is in love with her, capital H, a deer-hued, snake-taut beauty whose smile is an event, capital E. The only problem is her fiancé in New Orleans, and she's going to see him for 12 days while Henry smolders in the Glam Shack, his borrowed Silicon Valley pool house, and the site of their month-long affair. Mesmerized by the American Indian Wars, grasping for the divine as he relives this bloodied love, Henry must decide what to make, what it means to make his last stand, capital L, capital S. Okay. All right. Well, I didn't request this. It certainly sounds interesting. And he's a graduate of the Iowa Writers Workshop, and this is a debut novel. Okay, great. And he lives in Boulder, Colorado. All right, do we have a date on this? Oh, June. Okay, June. Great. Okay. The Glam Shack. That's kind of strange. All right, on we go. What is this next one? Oh, all right. I think we saw this before. This is Lover by Anna Ravarat. Oh God, it's the sun making its reappearance. Oh God, is there a way around? Well, we'll figure it out. Let's see here. This comes out right away. This comes out in a day or two, and it's got blurbs from everybody in the world. And let's see here. Kate, a wife and mother of two and a senior executive at a multinational hotel company, has made caring for others her life's work, and she's good at it. But when she opens her husband's computer to find a series of email exchanges with an unknown woman, it all begins to fall apart. After 10 years of marriage, Kate is forced to take a closer look at her relationship with her husband, and she must ask herself, how well do I really know him? Okay, and who is Anna Ravarat when she's at home? She grew up in North Yorkshire and studied English at King's College, Cambridge. She lives in London with her 3 children and is a consultant in organization and team development. And this is her U.S. debut. All right, so we've got a strong showing of fiction so far. All right, let's just forge ahead here. Oh, okay, great, fantastic. This is the finished copy. Comes out at the end of March. This is the finished copy of Ike and McCarthy by David Nichols. This is Dwight Eisenhower's secret campaign against Joseph McCarthy. Now you have the eyes of the general and the eyes of the weasel. and David Nichols is an authority on the Eisenhower presidency. He has written 2 previous books about Eisenhower. Did I read them? Oh, yes, I did. Okay, I read the one on the Suez Crisis, and it was really good. Okay, great. Fantastic. All right, so I was waiting for this. I don't think I ever got the advance copy. Some weird oversight on the publishing world. All right, on we go. This one here. We're getting towards the end. We're okay. This is also something I don't think I requested. This is by Leslie Kean, and it is called Surviving Death. You can see that. And the subtitle is A Journalist Investigates Evidence for an Afterlife. And this comes out in early March. The question of whether or not a part of us survives bodily death is one that is shared by most of humanity, yet remains a contested mystery. Could it be scientifically possible that our consciousness can function independently of our brain and physical bodies? If so, would it continue to exist after we pass on? In search of answers, internationally acclaimed journalist and best-selling author Leslie Kean embarked on a landmark examination. Her new book reveals stunning evidence that offers a deeper understanding of the true breadth of the human psyche and suggests that our consciousness may survive death. Okay. All right. But that is that underlying contention is what's known in scientific circles as bullcrap. There has never been, in the history of humankind, a single shred of evidence that consciousness survives death. So when this thing says that could we survive the death of our body, we are our body. Your brain is a pile of semi-coagulated tissue that needs a constant flow of oxygenated blood in order to keep its circuitry working. Without the flow of blood and oxygen, it dies, it calcifies. And your thoughts, your feelings, your memories, everything about you that is you exists in that little muscle, in that little part of your body. It doesn't exist anywhere else, and it can't go anywhere else. It's part of that thing. It's to say that something survives the death of that thing is like saying that eyesight survives the loss of your eyes. It's a function of that thing. It's the only reason we think otherwise is because we are conscious. And we naturally think that we must be something other than the sum of our chemicals, but we are not. And we now know that that is true. Every single aspect of a person's personality, memory, emotions, can be artificially manipulated by manipulating areas of the brain. And no one has ever said anything, done anything, thought anything, felt anything once the brain is dead. Or if they have, we have absolutely no evidence of it. And if you have absolutely no evidence of something, you can't have new evidence. If there's no old evidence, there can't be any new evidence. I realize the element of strong wishful thinking that's involved. Nobody wants to think that their brain works that way, that they are their brain chemistry, but nevertheless, it's true. If you expose that brain to air or to injury, it's like an old, if those of you might remember, the old style film camera. You have the film in there, you're taking pictures, those pictures are your memory. If you open the back of that camera and expose that film to light, everything goes away. The film is still there, but it's useless. The images are gone, and they are never coming back. That is exactly what we are. That is exactly what's going on in your brain, and you don't exist anywhere else but in your brain. So books like this are always frustrating. There is no evidence, nor could there be any evidence of a person's personhood surviving the death of their brain. Where would you get that evidence? Prayer? Vision? Where scientifically would you get that evidence? Where would you get that evidence in a way that you could repeat and demonstrate and show to a stranger who didn't know you and had no predilections whatsoever about... Where could a Christian get evidence of that would satisfy a Buddhist scientist? It's never been done. It can't be done. And we don't have a second's hesitation about believing that flat fact about any other animal species in the world, except ourselves. You see a squirrel burst open on the side of the road, you don't wonder where that squirrel is. Where its selfhood is. You don't wonder where its selfhood is. You know perfectly well when you see it burst open on the side of the road that it, as an entity, is gone. The physical stuff is remained, but the interaction of chemicals and electricity that made it into an entity is gone. It's not coming back. It was individual and unique to that organism. We're perfectly okay with that when it's squirrels on the side of the road, but not when it's grandma. I guess that's partially understandable, but it drives me nuts. I don't mind if a book like this is a religious devotional title. I read a lot of those in any given month, and I treat them with sympathy. I understand where they come from, and I love it when they're well done, when they're intelligently done, honestly done. But this is purporting to be a scientific investigation. The pub sheet made much of the author's being a journalist. There's nothing for a journalist to investigate. Oh, God. All right, so religion and the afterlife. I don't know what else is left for me to go at. Maybe that odd growth in your aunt's neck. Let's see if I can dig myself out of. Oh, God, help us. All right, well, there's some good news and bad news in this next one. The good news, the bad news is it's a reprint of Friedrich Nietzsche. He's one of the most fraudulent and bankrupt and idiotic, quote-unquote, philosophers of relatively modern times. Someone who was in the grip of late-stage syphilis during the entirety of his writing career, and it shows. The good news is it's a Penguin Classic in the mail, and also it's got a Tushy on the cover. And BookTube, if every edition of Nietzsche that I'd ever read in my life had a Tushy on the cover, I might have been better disposed towards it. I figure I've lost you all anyway. I might as well. Oh, wait. I was mistaking this package for another book, but no, that was an earlier batch. That is the last of it. We are done with this god-awful book. Okay, so let me show it to you. There's Surviving Death, which we do not. There's Ike and McCarthy. There's Lover, a U.S. debut by Anna Ravarat. There's The Glam Shack, paperback debut. There's Little More Than Human. There's a new book about abortion and the different aspects of it, the two different aspects of it, privacy and secrecy. Bids fair to be fascinating, even if I can't write about it anywhere. And then Sex and the Constitution, which now that I think of it, is going to have a lot to do with abortion, right? Obviously, Roe v. Wade and sexual politics are going to be all throughout this, because American law is made by men. So, even when it's not dealing with abortion, it's incredibly callous and manipulative. So, I'm kind of thinking I want to read this right away. And then a Penguin Classic to top it all off. This is The Will to Power by Friedrich Nietzsche with a Tushy on the cover. So that's not a bad mail haul. Let's see if I can erase the controversy with something that we can all agree on. I don't know why that amuses me the way it does. Anyway, anyway, I'm gonna go for now. Book 2, feel free to leave comments. we can argue this until the cows come home. That would be so much fun, because I know where I stand with you people. We can argue and still like each other. But anyway, I'll see you soon. Thank you, Book 2.